All right. Good afternoon, CBGR. Thank you for attending our session today. We have a very valuable class today. We're going to be going over the preliminary title report, which is a big part of, you guys ready? A big part of every transaction. It can halt your transaction very quickly if you don't know what you're looking at and you don't preview the prelim in advance. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Yolanda and Alba Moy and thank you for hosting.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yolanda Martinez, WFG National Title Company. And I brought Alba Moy Escrow to help and assist in all the escrow questions and how we both work together on your transactions, okay? So I know the preliminary report, and this is a heavy one, it's like a book, so don't get scared by it. But I think most of you know that I did sell real estate for 4 years prior to getting into title. And when I was selling real estate, I didn't quite know exactly what title insurance was. I just knew that it was a fee that both the buyer and seller paid. And the reason why I knew that, it was in their net sheet, but I didn't quite exactly know. And it wasn't until I got into title that I learned so much about it and what it is and the role that we play and how important it is. And title insurance is exactly what it says, its name. We insure title. So sometimes once in a while, we'll get a phone call at our office, like my garage burned down, I got a flood, broken pipes. So we're not State Farm, we're not Farmers, we're not Allstate, we're the title insurance. So title insurance is a one-time fee. You pay it at the time of your transaction. Who needs title insurance? Whenever you're working on a sales transaction and or refinance. Now, the good thing about title, unlike other insurances, it's a one-time fee. So we are your title company until your next bona fide transaction. So for an example, you buy a home, you're going to get title insurance, and we will be your title insurance company until the day you sell or the day you go refinance, and therefore you'll need new title insurance. Okay, so it's a one-time fee, and we are your insurer, your carrier for the next bona fide transaction. Yes, come here.
When I refinance, nobody ever asks me which title insurance do you want to use. Do they automatically use a different one, or do they keep with the same company?
That's a very good question. Usually, it is the homeowners or borrower's choice. But usually most homeowners or borrowers do not know, and they usually go with who the lender recommends and or who the escrow recommends, unless you as the homeowner already know and have a relationship with the title company. So, and you can pick, or you can shop around. That is correct.
But in a refinance, you do have the choice to choose. So
Yes,
if you
you
choose
do.
to, you have the right to choose.
Yes, you do. You do. Absolutely. That's a good question. Yeah.
Is title insurance mandatory?
Yes.
Very good question. It is mandatory on a bona fide transaction, and especially if you're getting a loan, and I mean a loan as far as with an institution, a mortgage company or savings and loan, they will not close the deal unless you have title insurance. And that goes for whether you're refinancing with a big institution or mortgage company and or on a sales transaction. They will not close. Now, here's the thing. Can you transfer property without title? Yes. Have I seen it and have I heard horror stories about it? Yes. Okay. And especially if it's between family members and it's a cash transaction and gift, it's yes. And I'm glad you brought that question up. And I'm going to give you an example. This happened many years ago. One of my clients, this happened to his client. It was a vacant lot in downtown LA, and his client was offered this vacant lot like really cheap, like $80,000. And that's cheap for vacant land in downtown LA or
Yes.
near downtown LA, right? So the seller was like, okay, you gotta hurry, let's do it outside of escrow, no agent, let's save money, blah, 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 push, let's do a, you know, a 3-day, 4-day escrow. So the client got the cashier's check and gave it to the owner and closed escrow, and he signed the grant deed. About a year went by because it's a vacant land, so nobody lives there. When he started deciding he's gonna do something and noticed he's not getting paperwork, the person who sold it wasn't the owner. Folks, if something sounds too good to be true, it's usually not true. If somebody's pushing you, and that's what we call red flag, right, Alba? If something sounds too good to be true, most of the time it's not true, you know, and there's a lot of fraud and people imposing as the owner, and especially on a vacant land, there's no, and you can't go like check who lives there or what. Go ahead, yes. Ruben.
Yeah, that's interesting. That also brings, what about liens? Like currently I have a house in escrow and the lien came up for 19,000. I asked the seller, is this yours? And they say no, but it says Juan Banda there, you know, it has their name on it.
Right.
So if they're insisting it's not theirs.
Okay, good point. And that's a very good question. When we run a prelim, it is exactly that. It's a preliminary report. And pre means it's only as good as the day it's really issued, because judgment, liens, deeds of trust can be recorded the very next day after we issued it. So this is just a preliminary report. When the title company or escrow orders the prelim and we do the report, okay, we get everything that's of record, everything that is recorded against the property. Now, when it comes to the name, and that's a very good question, Ruben, whatever is against our name is against any and all properties that that person owns. So what kind of liens are against the name that do get attached to the property? Federal or state tax lien, judgment, child support, alimony, all of that. If you have a lien against your name, it's going to get attached to the property, even though it won't show on what we call the chain of title for the property. It is against your name. And when we run the SI, which is a statement of information, which we'll get to that a little bit later in the talk, that's when we run the name. On your situation, what title companies we do is, if it's not that common of a name, or if there's a lien that possibly could be what we call a hit, possibly be theirs, we're going to include it just in case. And the reason why is we rather give you more notice up front to deal with this lien and time to contact the IRS or the DA's office, because I'm going to tell you, the DA, the IRS, they work at a snail's pace, especially with COVID and they're behind and all that. They don't care that you're trying to close escrow tomorrow. They don't care that the loan docs are going to expire. They don't care if it's a foreclosure sale and the property is going to sale. They're going to take their time. They're not going to rush.
He thinks that somebody used his name. Is that possible?
That's a possibility. And that's why we, title companies, not just WFG title, but all title companies, will sometimes add possible liens that possibly might be your clients. And so I don't want clients to worry, like if there's a DA. I had this one time happen. One of the clients, my realtor called me up. Oh my God, my client's all upset. There's a DA lien, and the guy says he doesn't know. Tell him not to worry. It's probably somebody with the same name, okay? And so all we need you to do is have your client fill out the SI, the statement of information, fill it out completely, submit it to escrow to title, we will clear it, okay? So I know we're in a day and age of all this modern technology, but it still takes a human to type up and search out records. And we always ask for that statement of information up front, even when you get the listing, take care of it up front. Because if you have a common name, my maiden name is Martinez. I didn't think Yolanda Martinez was that common. I found out it's very common. There's so many leads, like pages and pages. For an example, running William Smith, we have to run William Smith, Willie Smith, Bill Smith, Billy Smith. Okay, so do you see where we're going? Honestly, some names, it gets so crazy. Like one page can have 25 liens. One page can show 25 when we do a printout. There are some names that have about 10 pages of liens. And not all these liens have social securities or addresses. So do you see where it can get really tedious and very time consuming, and where it still takes the human, a live person, to go row by row and search, and then sometimes print out that document to see if the last 4 digits of the social match up, or to see if the address matches up, or could this possibly be our client? It's hard, or if it's a court case or a child support, you know, are the names matching up? And so it does take time, and we have to do our due diligence and be very thorough on that. So Albert, you might want to add to that when it comes to the SI, and appreciate getting that SI in as soon as possible. And please tell them if they get the prelim up front and they see a lien that's not theirs, just let them know that it could be somebody, I'm sure, you know, somebody with the same name. We just need you to fill out the SI so we can double check. Okay, and then once we double check, Ruben, and it's not your client, we eliminate and take it off of the pre. So not to worry, okay? Yes.
If this happen when still in the title insurance period, but for somehow the title, for example, title A be merged, so no more exists for the title A. So what happened to the owner? Is there any?
What do you mean by the title A?
Because when the transaction closed, there's under title A, so they have the insurance period,
Correct,
right?
correct.
But no, no wait until the new transaction happened,
Correct.
but the title emerged by some other title company. So title A company no longer exists.
Right, once you have a bona fide transaction, Cecilia,
Yes.
whether it's a sales transaction or a refund. Now, uninsured deeds happen a lot. Now, that's outside of title and escrow. Okay, so obviously the title company is still your title company and insures on what they insure. But if there is new deeds and that you record yourself down at the Hall of Records, and these are obviously uninsured, not viewed and insured by viewed by escrow and insured by title. Those are what we call uninsured deeds. The title company is not responsible for the new uninsured deed. We're only liable for what we insured on the day we closed and all that. Now, will we help and assist you in clearing cloud of title? Yes. But the title company is not responsible for after the close of escrow and you start adding uninsured deeds and recording uninsured deeds, and maybe the legal's wrong, maybe you added a minor on title, you know, all these other things that can go wrong and happen without the validity. And I've said this before, and I'm going to stress again, the Hall of Records will record almost anything. You have to remember, when you go down to the Hall of Records, they're not a title company. They're not the escrow company. They don't know any backstory. They don't know who the legitimate owners are, the legal owners. They don't know anything. Actually, they don't even know the correct legal description and a APN number, okay, which is supposed to be on the deed or else. So as long as it has a legal, they don't know if it's correct or not. It has the APN number, assessor parcel number. It's signed and notarized, and the seal, the notary seal is clear. They'll stamp it, record it, and take your money. Now, whether that is a legal deed and legit, and the legal description was correct. And this is where we have problems. Sometimes it's just a digit off. The lot number, the track number, instead of 8, it's a 3, instead of a 6. It's just off, it's a 0. And that can cause a lot of trouble. It gets posted to another chain of title. And again, that's an uninsured deed. Alba, did you want to add anything to that? Okay. Keep going.
Don't be shy, Alba.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, come here.
Done after close of escrow, just, we need to do some changes. Can we hire escrow and a title?
Yolanda,
Good
can you
question.
repeat the question?
Yes, let me repeat the question. Good question. The question is that after the close of escrow, if you have a deed, you want to add or subtract somebody on title, can you call upon an escrow and title for assistance and maybe pay for a fee? And can they do that? And so this is a very good question, and I probably get this asked once a week. I'm going to answer for title, and then I'll let Albert answer for escrow. Unfortunately, title companies can only do bona fide transactions. Okay, we can only, and when I mean bona fide transactions, we mean, again, refi or bona fide sale. Unfortunately, we cannot do that type of an accommodation and all that. What we suggest is an attorney, or they have those legal companies, you know, for assistance. Now, what we can do is, can we be a second set of eyes once the deed is typed and you have everything? Can we review it? Yes, we can be like a second set of eyes, review it, see if it looks good. Yes,
However, it will not be insured.
it's not insured. Exactly. Good. And it's not insured. So that's why we can't type up deeds. I even have agents call because you're working with clients that need assistance to type up a deed. Either they're going to add or subtract somebody on title. It's a conflict of interest for us as a title company to type up any deed, because we're the ones that are on a bona fide transaction insuring the documents. Okay, so we checked for the validity, we checked for the legal description, the APN number, the names, you know, that's what the address, that's what we do, but we cannot type up any deeds. It's a conflict of interest. So hopefully that answers your question on that. And go ahead,
Hi, I'm Patricia.
Patricia.
Hi, thank you. So I've seen that people transfer titles from one person to another, and they go and report it, but they also bring a affidavit. And then.
Of an uninsured deed.
Yes, uninsured, with an affidavit. So that's not guaranteed anything, right? It's just.
It helps,
that
Patricia.
That person is who is the owner, legal owner of the property. And that's why that affidavit is created, so that they can make sure that they get their picture ID and then.
Patricia, I'm gonna hire you for title. Okay, let me repeat the question. It's a very good question. This is another question that I get asked probably once a week as well. The question, and I like it. Say, for an example, after the close of escrow, and you want to draw up a deed, whether you're adding or subtracting somebody on title. What can that homeowner do to better insure that deed, being that it's uninsured, it's outside of title and escrow? And can you sign an affidavit of an uninsured deed? And the answer is absolutely, and make copies. So again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm speaking, just giving you information and giving you helpful information. But this is what I do tell my agents when you're accompanying and helping your clients and you get those questions for drawing up documents. There is what we call, there's a form, it's called an affidavit of an uninsured deed. Okay, so if, and I think there may be one in here, and if not, I'll send you a copy. So whenever we do a search and there is an uninsured deed from the last insurance, then we will ask the parties to sign an affidavit. basically saying that they, a consent saying that, yes, they did sign it. They did with their knowledge and that they, for no consideration, expected back, okay? It's gotta be signed and notarized. And so I do suggest that. It's good to have a copy, make a copy of their driver's license or California ID, Patricia. The more information, the better. It also is helpful if you have them sign, especially if they're coming off title, a statement of information. Because like I said, title companies, when we do an open order and we do an insurance and transaction, we have to go back, our search and our insurance goes back to the last insured transaction. So just because people come off and on title, you think, oh, we don't have to deal with, you know, Mary and John because they already quitclaimed off. No, we still need to get SIs on them, and we possibly will have to get affidavits of uninsured deed if they came off. Furthermore, people do that when they know they have personal liens and judgment. They think by coming off title, that way that IRS lien or that judgment lien won't be on the property. If that IRS lien or judgment was already recorded and then they claimed off, guess what? They left you. They left you that lien. It has to be cleared. It has to be dealt with. Okay. So just because somebody comes off title doesn't mean all the, yeah, if they left you liens and judgments, they're going to stay with the property and will have to be dealt with at the time of refinancing or at the time of the next bona fide transaction. Okay, does that make sense? And does that, but when you do uninsured deeds like that, I do tell people it's best to try to get as much information. Is there a guarantee? There's no 100% guarantee, but let me tell you, that it's helpful. And you're helping the title company for the next transaction. And the more information and that you gather and assist, the better it's going to be. Now, here's the other thing. Uninsured deed, but now that person dies before you sell. Well, obviously they can't sign an affidavit of an uninsured deed because now they are deceased. Okay, but we're still going to need an SI. Obviously they can't fill out the SI, but what the title companies will ask for is they're going to ask for a certified death certificate, because we're going to need that death certificate to make sure, well, they can't sign the affidavit. Obviously, we need to confirm that they are deceased and that they're not, obviously now that we know they're deceased, they're not going to come back and claim money, that money was owed. Okay. And then obviously they cannot fill out the statement of information, the SI, but we get that information off of their death certificate, their address, their social, their full name. So we're able to run the SI based on the death certificate. Now, I know it sounds silly, and you're going to start hearing more title companies asking for this uninsured deed. And the reason for it, that right now, the hot claim, and Alba's shaking her head because she knows, I can't tell you, uninsured deed, we're getting claims left and right as a title company. And what they're saying is, this is the story that we're getting. I came off title because I had bad credit and they were refinancing. I was promised, I'm a silent owner still, and I'm supposed to get 100,000 or 200,000. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Or a spouse. And a spouse is separated or going through a divorce, or the divorce is final and the husband already signed the quitclaim deed and now the wife is the one on title and now she's either refinancing or selling. We will ask for an affidavit of an uninsured deed from the spouse or ex-spouse. Now I get it. I get a lot of times we're not speaking to each other. I get it. Okay. So what we will ask in that case, if the divorce is finalized, then get us a copy of the divorce decree. Because if we have a copy of the divorce decree, we can read that the wife was to be awarded the property. So therefore, we're not going to have you contact the ex-husband to have him sign any additional paperwork. But it's basically, just think of it as help us help you, you know, and we're getting a lot of claims. I can't tell you because people are saying, you know what? I came off title. I didn't know what I was signing. I was pressured. You know, I had bad credit. They promised me 100,000. We hear all the stories and the claims. And so it is a big deal. It's a big issue. Yes, Edgar.
What happens to those stories and claims? Do they go to court or what?
Yeah, we have our attorneys. We have all title companies have a full staff of attorneys. And I can't tell you how many claims we get, all kinds of claims on a daily basis. So it's expensive, let me tell you. And a lot of them we have to pay out. Unfortunately, we have, sometimes we win and there's no case, but sometimes we do have to pay out. So, and that's what title insurance is. We're basically your attorneys, your title company, your insurance until the next bona fide transaction. Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I saw a hand here, but Ruben.
Is there different prices for different coverage?
Very good question. Okay, so good question. Pricing first for a sales transaction, so that all of you know, is based on the sales price. Okay, so it's like a sliding scale. The rate chart is like a sliding scale. So obviously, the more expensive home, the higher the coverage is. Okay, so it's like a scale. Now, there's two coverages: the California Land Title Association and the other one. Well, in your CAR contract, on your purchase agreement contract, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's already pre-written that it's the homeowners plus, it's the extended coverage. Am I? Okay, so you get the homeowners plus policy, that's the extended coverage. Now, can a title company downgrade you to a CLTA, the basic coverage, standard coverage? Yes. And I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you when. You sell 3 units and you open up the order as 3 units. And maybe you give us 3 addresses, maybe you just give us 2, but you open it as 3. While we're doing our search, our preliminary search, and we only see 2 addresses and we only see on the tax roll sheet, and we go by the tax roll, 2 units. Okay, as a title company, we're not going to kill the deal. We're not here to kill deals, okay? We want to close it. We don't get paid unless the deal closes. But what we will do is we're going to report out 2 addresses, 2 units. Maybe the 3rd is illegal. Maybe they started with permits but didn't do the final. I don't know. We don't know. So we will do a standard coverage. Okay, we will downgrade the coverage to a CLTA standard coverage, which means we're not liable for unpermitted structures and things like that. But we're not going to kill the deal, because there are times where maybe that 3rd unit is illegal, a garage conversion, they never finished it, and maybe the buyer's fine with it and wants to buy it like that. And so that's when we will downgrade. But other than that, you will get the homeowners plus the extended coverage, full policy. Did that answer? Hopefully that answers the question. Okay, I'm gonna start going through this now because, but if you have questions, you know, just okay. So I'm gonna go through this. This is like a book. Don't get scared. I think my secretary picked out the worst property to do. So I don't want you to get scared. But anyhow, looking up here, the first page is very important. It tells you your title company. It gives you your title officer's name, Julie Alvarado. I'm the title rep. She would be the title officer, and you have the phone number to the office directly, our address, and on the email. What's important here is the order number. If you have the prelim and you are calling on a question and you want to contact me, or you want to contact the title unit directly, right here would be the order number. Give the order number. If you have it handy, that's so helpful.
It's not on this sample.
Not on this sample, because we kind of altered this one for some privacy issues, but the property address, the APN number, which is the assessor parcel number, and then the escrow company, and it'll have all the escrow information on
1
it.
second. So
Okay.
those on Zoom, just know that they omitted the order number and the property address just for privacy, but that's where it would be.
Yeah. So this page, it gives you a lot of information. Okay, go ahead and scroll there. Thank you. Right there. Okay, so here it's telling you the policy, the homeowners, that's the homeowners plus, okay? And if there's a loan, okay, the Altel loan concurrent, that's the concurrent rate. And this is important. See, this is an older prelim, but the date here, I always say the property is only as good as the date it's issued. Okay, so in this date, it was issued on the October 13th, 2022, 7:30 a.m. It's a good prelim, don't get me wrong. This is what we work out of. If it's a long escrow, we get calls from escrow. Can you do an update? So then we would update it depending on how long the escrow is. But know that right before, when escrow steps up to record, the night before, and this is so important, the night before, when escrow sets up to record for the next day, what we do is what you call you'll hear this terminology, a date down. A date down. So now we have to make sure that were there any judgments or liens recorded on the homeowner's name in these last couple of days or so? Was there any new deed of trust recorded? Any other activity? So now, unfortunately, we cannot do a date down every single day on every single order. We wish we can to keep you posted. So I always say, if you know through your conversation with your seller or your borrower, you know that they're expecting a IRS lien to hit any moment, or some judgment, or you know what, that you heard that they took out a second on the property, and it was before they did this after the prelim. Let us know, let escrow know, let us know. We will be more than glad to do a date down anytime you ask. We just can't do it automatically every day on every single file. It's not humanly possible. Yes, Patricia.
Sometimes we don't know, because let's say that a condominium complex is being sued and the attorney has to file on his desk and he hasn't let anybody know. Instead of sitting down in his desk, he's gonna call one day before we close and say, you guys cannot close because this has allowed.
That is correct. And unfortunately, that's when we do the date down, if we're not aware of that, and it's not brought to our attention before to do an earlier date down, unfortunately, that's why sometimes the night before, that's when we get the surprises of a recent judgment, lawsuit, new deed of trust or something. So, but just know that that's how that works, okay? The next thing that's very important for all of you as taking the listing, the owner's name and vesting. That's so important because we will show who is on title. Now, if you're working with the listing and who you're dealing with, their name is not up there, okay, you need to start asking questions, okay? So that is very important. If there is some uninsured deed after that bona fide transaction and insured transaction, you'll see their name, and then you'll start seeing like 7, 8, 9 numbers. That means we'll need affidavits of uninsured deeds or more additional information on that. Or if somebody on title and they're deceased now, you obviously have to let escrow know and let title know so that the proper documents are prepared. Yes, Ruben?
Will the property profile always match the prelim as far as ownership investments?
No. Property profiles, good question. So the question is that does the property profile and a preliminary report, do they always match information or ownership? And the answer is no. A prelim is stronger and better. It's a more thorough search and more accurate. But property profile, and this goes for all title companies, it's only about 85% accurate. Okay. And on every page, you'll see that this on property profiles, this is deemed information liable but not guaranteed, because there's all that room for error and margin. And if they add on square footage or extra bedrooms and baths and it's not permitted, it's not going to match up. Okay. Or if there's a process of adding on and not completed. So there's room for error there. So anyhow, let's go to the next page is the legal description. And you'll see this beautiful long legal description. And this is what we double triple check, make sure everything is correct. And like I said, sometimes just one digit can throw off the whole thing, okay? And then you'll see the APN number. So there's 3 ways to identify the property, which is very, very, very important. On the first page, you saw on the cover sheet of the first page, it was the address. That's what we know by, okay, and the US Postal Office. APN number is for the tax assessor's office, how they identify the property. And the third is the legal description, title companies, and when recording documents. So there's 3 ways of identifying the property, and it's very, very important. Okay?
In this case, it doesn't match. They don't match.
Okay, yeah, we did that on purpose. We kind of mixed and matched on purpose. So yeah, you'll notice that we kind of messed around with it. I'm like, yes.
So the legal description is the responsibility of the title company?
We double check to make sure it's correct, accurate. That's how we identify it. Yeah, we did
From,
previous insured transaction. No, so the 3 ways of identifying address, our regular address is how we identify in our mail and US Postal. That's how, we identify where we live, 123 Pine Street, Alhambra, whatever. And then the tax assessor's office goes by APN number, assessor parcel number, title companies. I mean, we do all 3, but to us, the big thing is the legal description because of the recording of the documents. It's important and vital that the legal description is correct on every document that is recorded. Yes.
I hear you and I get it. But if you're going back to, another bona fide transaction, right? Do you rely on that description?
No, we cross-reference everything, and that's a good question because we have seen where, and title companies we're all human. We've made mistakes, and so sometimes we have to like, oh, we noticed this was wrong or this was wrong, and we correct it. I had a similar situation on a transaction with a car space on a condo sales transaction, and the car space was wrong in the legal description. And so we got that corrected and amended so that we were able to do it correctly for them on the new transaction. So, I mean, all that, but see, it's working. It's having all those eyes and searching and looking at all these documents, but yes. Okay. Oh, yes, Cindy.
In case if there's a lien attached to the property, will the title or escrow notify the agent or buyer?
Well, this is your notification first.
Yeah, but in case the buyer doesn't know how to read this.
Oh, okay. Then if they don't, then they can call the title rep, and they will be more than happy. And I speak to many agents because they don't know, especially buyers, and you'll see why when you start seeing the prelim, how scary it is and stuff sometimes. But yeah, if escrow is really good about explaining the prelim if the clients have any questions, buyers or sellers, or the title company. And also feel free to call the title officer, because they're the ones behind the desk with the 3 screens, and they have access to all of that immediately. So very good. Okay.
I think that's not what her question.
Yeah.
Oh, did I not answer it right?
I think her question was in case both agents and buyers,
Overlook-
didn't catch that.
Didn't catch it. Well, we as a title company, we better catch it because we won't close. Everything has to be.
The question is, will you tell the person?
Oh, yes, yes. We do.
When you see something that is not.
Because we communicate with escrow. Yeah, so I'm so sorry, Cindy, I didn't understand. So what we do is when we're getting ready to close and we communicate, the title unit communicates with escrow and say, hey, how about this lien? Did you order a demand, or, do we have a release of lien? What's happening with this? And so usually then escrow calls you, the agent, and says, hey, what about this notice of substandard, this mechanics lien? What do you know about it, or your clients know about it? And so then we start working on things like that.
I'm sure you've had experience with clearing IRS liens, but I have never had to, thank goodness, but I hear that it's very difficult and it's very time consuming. I mean, it could take months. So it can really screw up the deal, I think. I don't know if you want to address that.
No, you're right. Hopefully they're better. I've had transactions where, maybe 2 weeks or so. I know they probably got worse with COVID. Things were, shut down and all that. So, but I think they've gotten a little bit better, but that's why when we send out the prelim, or that's why it's important that you get the, FI, because that way it gives time to start working on it, so it's not gonna hold up your transaction. And that's why that's so important, and that's a good point to bring up, and so thank you. Oscar, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, Oscar. I feel like a waitress. You know, waitress, they come up to you and say, oh, how's that meal? Do you want it?
So as an agent, when you're reading the really, what you should you be looking for?
Good
What are
question.
the red flags?
Okay, I like your question, and that's what we're gonna do, because we're gonna have to speak through it, but we're gonna start going. So the first main thing for you as an agent, as a listing agent especially, is the address. Just make sure that the address was correct on the prelim. And then the next thing is the owner. Okay, we will show the legal owners that as the title company, if that doesn't match up or something's wrong, start questioning. That's the next thing. Now, let's start going over here into the taxes. Okay, so this is the property taxes. We will break it up to first installment, second installment. It shows open, of course, the second installment, but they're all open. Now, here's the thing. They could have paid, like say for an example, this one, maybe they paid late, and you know that the tax assessor takes sometimes, especially around tax time, a couple of weeks to show posted on the chain of title. So maybe we show open because they just paid 2 weeks ago and the tax assessor has not downloaded and showed posted and paid. So if your client said, no, I already paid, just ask them for their proof or cancel check. And then that way we will amend the prelim to show pay. So pay attention to taxes. This is just letting you know there could be supplemental taxes and assessments. So that's standard assessments in community, all that. Okay, so all these are easements, public record. Okay, and common area. Okay, so easements in a common area is if you're listing a condominium or PUD, and there are common areas, walking trails, pool, whatever, driveways, jogging trails, tennis courts. So you're parking, so you're gonna see those type of easements, and they're gonna be on the whole complex. Okay, so we will list any and all of those if it is a condominium or a PUD. Okay. We have irrigation ditches, so that easement there. Okay, so see that wonderful word, memorandum of agreement, and there's a lot of them. And this particular, wait, hold on, before I go on to that, can you just scroll down to 1D, right here, liens, bonds, assessments. Here's, especially if you're selling in Riverside, I get this a lot. That's where your Mello-Roos is gonna come in, okay? And there's a lot of Mello-Roos in Riverside County. So if there's any special assessments, bonds, Mello-Roos, you're gonna see it there on 1D, okay? And let's go, then go ahead and go up. Now, on this particular one, the subdivision, there's a lot of document entitled memorandum agreements. These are all due to the subdivision when they built this and they had to record them. So unfortunately, they're gonna be, there's a lot of them. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. All of these are when the subdivision and they had to record the document. Yes, Ruben.
Will all prelims electronically have the hyperlink to the
Yes,
documents?
yes. That's a good point. The question is, do all prelims have the hyperlink? Yes, they do. And this is going to be helpful because when you're with your client, whether it's the buyer or the seller, and you're going over the prelim, it's, you know, they're going to want to see these documents. And then you click on and you're going to see it's regarding the subdivision and all that. Now, there are some very old documents and old. And you click on them and you're saying, I get these calls. I clicked on the hyperlink and I cannot read the document. It's an old document. They didn't scan well. They didn't, I mean, there's nothing we can do, unfortunately, you know. So, but yes, you will have access to the document right then and there. That way you can see if it's an uninsured deed, insured deed or what. Okay, so keeps going all the way. These are all just easements. Yeah, these are a bunch of easements here. So let's see. Let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get right here to 22. So this is the last vesting deed when they came into title. So we are showing Adore, A, Bustamante, and Naomi. I actually pulled the real documents, so I was able to see and actually these documents. So they actually bought the property back in March of 2019, but these documents here is when they put it into their trust. Okay, and when Adore bought the property in 2019, he bought it as a married man, as a sole and separate property. And she did a consecutive quitclaim deed off, and all was done with title and escrow. And this is now just putting it into their trust, and they both granted the property. He added her back onto the property, and they put it into their trust. So now we're gonna go off of the last deed here. And now, when it comes to trust, we know unless you buy a property underneath a trust name, it's going to be insured. But title companies are very understanding that almost, I'd say 95% of the trustees are not going to be insured, obviously, because it's done later in life. It's done when the homeowners get up there in age and they figure, let's put it into the trust. So we don't expect that to be insured. So all we ask, though, when it comes to a trust and it's in a trust, we will ask for the copy of the trust. Okay, we will need a copy of the trust, and we will need them to sign a trust certification. Okay, a trust certification is a standard form that's with the title companies that's basically saying there are no other changes or amendments to the trust dated. In this particular case, the trust dated July 15, 2019. Because as a title company, we need to know who, especially if the trust, if they're deceased, did a successor trustee step in? We need to know who has signing power, who's alive. So we need to know all that to follow. Basically, we're following the wishes of. So we will ask for a trust certification, whether it's signed by the owner, if they're alive, or the successor trustee, whoever is in charge. We will ask for them to sign an affidavit on sure deed. We will ask for a copy. Now, I get it. On trust, there could be some personal information that the family may not want us to know, and we do not want to know about the bank accounts, the cars, the jewelry, the furniture. We just need to know the real estate part, especially the property pertaining to the subject property that's being sold. Yeah.
So you don't require an original, you just a copy, correct?
Yes, as long as it's a copy, because sometimes we don't want the original because we don't want to be responsible to lose it. So, but again, we just need to know the valid part of it, who's the administrator, who's the executors, who's the successor trustee, how many kids, this, what are the wishes, and pertaining to the property. That's all we need to know. So that's here and here. Now, we may ask for a copy of the will. We've had some technical, sometimes trusts aren't always done correctly. Unfortunately, and so we may ask for additional information. Okay, so that's why here 24, we will always list, and the title companies will always list what we need. Okay, copies of the will, copies of the trust, death certificates, and have them sign. So we will always try to give you as much information, help you in
That will always be in 24,
No, it depends on how many.
Okay.
It depends. It'll be somewhere in here pertaining.
but
to
it'll be
it'll be
following the deed.
exactly. Good question. Okay, and then now we go to the deed of trust, and I told you he bought it March 6, 2019. That's the purchase deed. There is no refi. I told you he was a married man as a sole and separate property, so he took the loan out by himself. And so that's that. If there was a second or third, it would follow. One thing I want to say regarding seconds and thirds, and obviously on all deeds of trust, we need, if it shows on the prelim, we need to order demands, right? And escrow assists in that in ordering the demand. And that's why escrow will ask you, the agent, to ask the homeowner, you know, with a bank statement, the mortgage statement.
For the mortgage statement.
To get that information. If there is a deed of trust that has already been paid off and it's still showing on a prelim, okay? Usually it's a second or a third, or it's an old deed of trust and it's paid off, notify escrow or title right away. Now, I always tell people, and there's some that are so obvious, like dated 71, 82, 90. I mean, obviously we know it's been paid off, but for some reason there was no full reconveyance. The best way I can explain it, and you can help explain to your client, a deed of trust is a recordable document. That's how we pick it up on the chain of title. It is on the chain of title. The only thing that can take a recordable document off is another recordable document. That's the best way to explain it to your homeowner, okay? Because I believe them when they say they paid it off. It's an old deed of trust. Obviously, they would have foreclosed many years ago, but for whatever reason, and there's a lot of lenders out there, they just did not record the full reconveyance. Or back in the day, maybe they gave it to the homeowner, and the homeowner, I understand, they put it in the drawer or they threw it away, or they thought, I paid it off. I know it's paid off, and I get it. If you're not in this industry, you probably just, you know, kind of pushed it aside or lost it. So what we do in a case like this is we try to search the bank or the savings and loan or the mortgage company. If they are not in business, we can assist you in trying to find out which bank took it over. Like Countrywide was taken over by Bank of America. Great Western Bank, for any of you who are as old as I am, will remember they were, what, Washington, Great Western was Washington Mutual, which is now Homestead, you take, right? So we, you know, we can help you. We can't order the demand for you, but we can at least kind of help you, channel you as to which more, you know, who took them over. So now you can contact them for a substitution of trustee and a full reconveyance. Yes,
It
Patricia.
will not show on their credit, like if you run, the seller run his credit, it will not show, paid off.
I don't hire you, Patricia. That's a good question. So the question is won't it show paid if you run their credit? Okay, so if you run their credit report and on their credit report it shows paid, is that good enough, right? Or is it?
Get
And
the info.
yeah, and it does, and that's helpful. That's helpful, especially when I'm working with refis, and we use that method. But we still need a full reconveyance because for whatever reason, that lender did not record the full reconveyance, or if they gave it to the homeowner, they didn't record it, you know. And where it's really, really common is private Benny. A private Benny is like all of us. If you loan somebody money and you record a deed of trust on their house, you are considered private Benny. Private Bennies were real popular back in the 80s when maybe the previous seller was selling their home, and like, what is it, 1080, where the homeowner, the seller would carry back 10%, they would put 10% down and then get an 80% loan. So that private loan, you know, is just between the buyer and the seller, right? And they paid it off. Maybe it was a little payment book or whatever, they paid by check. But a private Benny, a lot of times they didn't know that. Okay, yes, sign, well, you know, sign the back and now record the full reconveyance. So we have a lot of those old deeds of trust, private Benny. So again, look at the prelim right away. That's talking about red flags, Oscar. Look at those old deeds of trust. Even if your homeowner says, oh, Oscar, it's paid off. Don't just like, oh, okay. Because if it's showing on the prelim, that means I believe you that it's paid off, but it's not clear, and we need a recordable document. Now, sometimes the bank is no longer in existence if it's a really old deed of trust, and or if it's a private venue, we can't find them or they're deceased and we can't find the heirs. So what we do is a lost note and bond, right? And a lost note and bond is the third party company that kind of the double insurance. And what the homeowner should do is try to provide as much proof as possible. You know, if they have a payment book, if they have a letter from the bank saying congratulations, it's paid up, whatever proof you have, you have a canceled check, whatever proof, what else can they provide to the lost note and bond company, Alba?
We like proof of payments.
Yeah.
Change, but you can't find anything that's so old.
Yeah.
Then you just have to do it. It's like a bail bond for the deed.
And maybe you know, I don't know, depending on how old that deed of trust is, maybe a copy of the credit report showing that it's paid. But whatever you can help, and the lost note and bond, you get that, and then we can take it off the property, off the chain. Mhm. Yeah, the more proof you have, and the older and the smaller, the lower price of the lost note and bond. So hopefully that helps and answers your question.
Let-
Oh, yes.
Let's go forward to the
Okay.
prelim, and then we're gonna answer all your guys' questions. Just jot them down. It's just we're running out of time. Really quick,
Yeah.
Diana and Christina and Irma, we'll get to your answers just as soon as we're done with the prelim, okay? So just hang tight.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, homeowners, I like this one, 26. So, if it is a condo complex or a PUD, development, and there's an HOA, and there's a homeowner's, delinquency on that, it will show on the prelim as well. So we would have to report that out too. So, and that is that. And then here is a bunch of, remember I told you about the federal tax liens? Okay, so look at all that we have to get working on. See, the wife, the husband, boy, they love them. The state's after them, the IRS is after them. If there's a judgment, it's after them.
Franchise.
Franchise, see, it's, trust me, you should see some of the prelims and the stuff we have to clear up and clean up. Yeah, it's not, look at that, 7,000, who wants 23? Oh my gosh. Yeah, look at all that. Yep.
New York.
Yep. Yep. Oh my God, all kinds, and it keeps going. And there you go. Okay. So, I'm not gonna go through all the fine print. Here, this is the requirement. This is what we're gonna ask. Pay attention to this page. It's very important. It'll say we need a statement of information. And you know, we'll talk. Okay, you'll see this a lot. Vincent, that went into effect. It's a law that went into effect a couple of years ago. If the property's free and clear, we have to report it out and check all that. So you'll see a lot of standard verbiage and that. So I'm gonna stop now because the rest of it, and at the end, you'll see the plat map. It gets really crazy. Like if you ever get bored, you can read this. There's a lot of fine print. So basically, I'm just gonna go ahead and scroll. Look, I mean, like I said, it's like a lot. Actually, there are some buyers and sellers that read all this stuff.
Yeah.
Here, there's the SI. You'll always find an SI
Yeah.
in your package. And so that's good to get, and to have them fill that out. And then,
Now, if it's husband and wife, they could do one. If
you
it's,
could do one.
if it's
And
not, it's two, right?
you could do two, correct. Yes, or if you need more, then you can print out and fill out. And, you know, we have to do all our disclosures and all that, and so, and all title companies have to do that. So you'll see all this wonderful information.
So before we go to questions, can you just reiterate to all the agents on where are the critical parts where you have to look?
Right. So the most important, and I'll kind of go in chronological order as we viewed, and that was the meat and potatoes of all this, and all this is excess stuff, and I'll kind of just briefly touch on that. But again, the most important thing is verify the address, because sometimes I have, Yoli, it's east, not west, or you know, there's two addresses, so you know, how come this address? So if this, check the address, check the owners. That is crucial. That's the next thing I need you to do. Check the property taxes, okay? And then check the deed of trust is the next thing, especially if there's a deed of trust and your clients are saying we paid it off 2 years ago. That's when we got to start working on it. And feel free to call me or whatever, you know, just start working. We have to start working on it. Well, why isn't it reconveyed? You know, I've had situations where, you know, it's if the legal description is off by 1 digit, sometimes a deed of trust or a grant deed or a reconveyance gets posted to the wrong chain of title. Okay, so I mean, it's crazy and that can throw everything off. And here, we're here to clean everything up is what we're trying to do. Well, oh, and this is an important page. It's usually the last page, and it is the map, and it'll show where your subject property will always highlight it in red. Your subject property. If you just scroll down a little bit, so I can show the top page part here. Maybe this way. Sorry, yeah, keep going. Right here. Okay, a little bit more, right there. Okay, so the best way to describe it is book. This is how I learned when I was young. Book, page, and parcel. Okay, BPP. So the first series of numbers here is always the book number, page, and the parcel is in the circle. So now if we scroll down, book, page, and parcel 4. The number outside is a lot number, okay? So BPP, book, page, parcel, that's how it is. So if you identify your property, book, page, parcel is the circle, is the one number in the circle. The number outside is the lot number. We will always include a plot map. And the thing is, uh-oh. Is that the air?
Is it windy? Is it windy? I thought it was Ruben. Hey, Ruben.
That's it.
Hi, Ruben.
If you had a very valid
We got 4 questions on
we
here.
need to get to Zoom. I'm sorry, you guys, I talk a lot. Okay, I just showed you how to identify your property on a plot map, book, page, and parcel. I get this question all the time, and I'm sure all of you probably already experienced it. And I'm just going to use this one right here because it's right here in plain view. Parcel 15. We insure a 53.71 by 1536 by 6528 by 101.62 lot. Where those lot lines lie it's not, we're not civil engineers, and we're not the city in which the property is in. Okay, all we insure is this, where it lies. And so that's where you're going to get the discrepancies, Cecilia, like you know, encroachment. You know, the neighbor built their fence on 2 feet on mine or something like that. Again, we insure this lot size, but where it is and where it sits is not. Now, if there's an encroachment and you are aware of it, so we don't send out inspectors. We have a third-party neutral company. Upon request, when it is brought to the attention of the title company on an open order transaction, there's a possible encroachment of 2-3 feet, maybe a garage, maybe a most common is a wall or a fence. We will go send out a third-party inspection company, neutral party. We will go and they'll inspect it and they'll give us a report. Then we have to disclose it. Okay, and we disclose it. And then it's up to the buyer and seller and the neighbor to work things out, how they want to continue to play. And we will then put it into the report and into the policy, an encroachment of the rear 6 feet, and mention that. Yes, Camille.
That two means parcel and parcel.
Yes, good.
Okay.
I have another title rep here. Thank you.
Chat.
Oh, okay. Oscar has a one question, then I promise I'm gonna get to the chat. Go ahead, Oscar.
We saw have to identify the person number again.
Sure.
I'll put a sheet.
It's okay. It's okay. So if you can see right here, when you're looking at a plot map, usually it's the other way, but for purposes right now. So BP, like just use this one, P. So book, page, and then the parcel is the circle and the number. So don't get confused with, well, and coincidentally, this is parcel 4 and lot 4. That doesn't happen too often. But the number outside of the circle is always the lot number. The number in the circle is the parcel number. So BPP, book, page, parcel. And you'll see that in the legal description too. It should match up in the legal description too. Okay, now I gotta get to my.
We got Sylvia first.
Oh, hi, Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia. What is the best way?
Hello.
What is the-
Okay, my question to you was, early on the Zoom, you mentioned about the, when you do those changes, they become uninsured. So how do we make those insured?
Good question. Unfortunately, you can't. Unfortunately, it's not until you sell or refinance. And you have a bona fide transaction, then does it become insured? Now, title companies will do this, and I know WFG title does this. We've had where some family members are transferring and they want to do it legit. You know, it's between family members and maybe very little money's being exchanged or just gift of equity or very little, you know, we will, you know, as long as escrow them out, we will do that and we have to charge them. And we do kind of like, well, based on the assessed value of the property, and we, you know, ensure the documents, we review them. We don't prepare them, escrow prepares them, we review them, you know, we handle it, we, you know, collect the funds and all that. But in that case, we also have to, like everything, we have to insure everything. So taxes, obviously, two things that are always ongoing is obviously property taxes never go away. So as a title company, we make sure that the taxes are current or prorated. That is our job. So all delinquent taxes are paid and we bring everything current and prorated. And if it's a homeowners association with an HOA, then obviously that, you know, that is also brought current, prorated, whatever. So, you know, we have to do that. But unfortunately, Sylvia, that's the only way, you know, till the next bona fide transaction, or, you know, pay as if it's like a transaction, kind of like a,
So not even paying for it, it would be, let's say it's not in escrow, it's not in a sale transaction of any kind, but want to get it cleared, you know,
right.
for,
The best I could say is I've had insured transactions where it's just family members wanting to do it the right way between their children. And it's kind of like a mini escrow and, you know, everything is insured and everything is done through escrow title. That's the only thing I could say. Yeah.
okay,
We got
thank you.
Anna.
Diana? How we handle the problem. Title is under husband and wife, joint tenants. One of the owners' personal loans is 200. Well, then even though it is reliable to handle loan. To the property fence. Okay, title is under husband and wife, is joint tenants. So one of the owners. Is that a personal loan or?
Diana, are you with us?
Yes.
She
Uh-oh,
probably
sorry, poor Diana, I'm gonna have to-
Yes, it's a personal loan.
Oh.
Okay,
The other part,
is
the other,
that personal loan recorded, is it a judgment, is it a lien, is it recorded against the property or a person's name?
oh, just under that person name, but record to the property.
So it's not recorded, it's not like a deed of trust, recorded against,
A
It's
lien, like a
Unsecured.
personal.
it's unsecured?
I don't know what you mean unsecured.
Well, is it attached to the property or is it just like if I gave you 200,000, you have to own?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
like whatever loan, you know, the
That's-
owners.
That wouldn't be attached to the property.
Okay, if it's a private loan, Diana,
Yeah,
and
private.
it's not recorded as a deed of trust, or it's not a lien as in a judgment against one's name, then it's not on the property. It's not on the property, it's just on the person's name, or,
It's like a credit card. It's
Yeah.
unsecured.
exactly, it's an unsecured lien.
Personal, that, you know, like friend or family, whatever.
No.
That will
no,
not show
No, it won't show.
unless they record it against the property.
Can they do that?
Yes, they can.
And then what happened to the other owners, like not agree with, you know, so how do you show the problems? Who pay for that? Who pay for
Yeah,
the
it's
lien?
community property.
It's community property, so it's still against the
Joy,
property.
Joy is, yeah, it's joy tenants, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
His is hers and hers is his.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, so meaning, the meaningless mean they can take out from the property if they sell the property, it will be deducted from them?
I'm sorry, you gotta speak up. Can you guys keep it down, please?
So when the property is on sale, so meaning they have a right to take out from the property?
Okay, so
You know, it's an
I
escrow.
understand what you're saying. When they go to sell the property, if it is a recorded lien, it has to be recorded, a public record.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that's part of the transaction. The title companies, like all those liens that you saw, all those federal state tax liens, all those judgments, we will not close the escrow until these are all cleared. Either they have to be paid or we need release satisfactions or release of liens. That's everything, so, yeah, because that's our job, is to deliver clear title to the new homeowner. And
Yeah.
so we will not, as a title company, allow to close a transaction until everything is cleared and satisfied. And just real fast, I didn't touch on, two items real fast, was mechanics lien and notices of substandard. Mechanics liens are like if you build a pool or you're doing an addition, you've got a contractor, they
Not
cost
mechanic.
a lot and you're not happy with their work, or a lot of times that's it, they take off.
No,
Okay,
not mechanical. It's just-
mechanically, that's a mechanic, so,
No.
and you don't pay them. The contractor can record,
Yeah,
a
I
mechanic
understand that
lien.
part. Yeah, then
Mechanic
you have
lien
to
on
pay.
it, which is good kind of
No.
for a year, unless they re-record it
Right.
and further action, okay? But then if they don't, it drops off after a year. A notice of substandard is usually from the city, and that is when, maybe your neighbors turned you in.
You didn't
because
bring it up to code?
Yeah, they know that you have an illegal unit and they reported you an illegal unit. Notice of substandard could be like the weed, you have a lot of debris on your front lawn, you have cars and you're not supposed to because of fire hazard and debris. And the
That-
city cites you, the city can, cite you.
Right, so
and
you correct it.
until you correct it. So all that, if they record a notice of substandard, sometimes if you have to do the work, or sometimes the city, if you don't do it within so much time, they go do it for you.
Right.
And now there's a now there's a
Now, with that, yeah,
financial.
with understand, you have to clear that, you have to pay for it.
Correct, and the most, and
not
we
the
cannot
personal.
close, right, and we cannot close title, we cannot close escrow until the lien is released, meaning you did that work, or it's been paid off, okay? And so we need to clear that. The only time the title company closes a transaction with a notice of substandard is usually it's a flip property and investors buying it all cash because, you know, they don't care.
They're gonna fix it
And
up.
they're gonna fix it up themselves, so we disclose it in the policy and they sign and they accept it as is because they're gonna fix up the property. And or an investor who uses hard money, a hard money lender, and they don't care either, as long as they are aware, they sign off. That's the only way we'll close a transaction with an open notice of substandard on it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's got to be paid off. Yes,
How about a judgment?
no, judgments we have to take care of. If it's open and outstanding, we gotta deal with it. And we have to contact the law office or the party, and sometimes if you can compromise on and get lower the price, you know, maybe if the judgment's for 10,000, I've seen like, okay, 5,000, we'll give you 5,000, you know, but then we need a full reconveyance, we need a zero demand, you know, we need all this paperwork. Again, we have to clear everything. When we pass title to the new homeowner, we have to deliver clear title. The only thing that's ongoing is obviously is the taxes, but they're gonna be current. Homeowners Association, if it's in an HOA complex, you know, and the only other way is if you're assuming a loan. I mean, that doesn't happen too often right now, but if you were to assume a loan, obviously then that would be passed on.
Let's finish the two questions on Zoom that's been lingering real quick. We'll get to your questions right now. The next question is Christina.
Yeah, with the
What
private
time?
Benny,
Yeah. Hi,
with the
Christina.
private Benny, what do you guys have to do to get it cleared?
They have to sign off on it.
Find the price.
We have to
Okay.
find them first. We have to find them first.
Okay,
If they're deceased, then maybe a family member, an heir, like the son or daughter or family member. So then we. can-
okay, with mine, as you know, with grandma's house, we cannot find it. So what's the next step? Maybe you should tell them that.
A lost note and bond, which we touched on the lost note and bond, earlier, yes. So that would be the way to go. If you can't find the private Benny and or they're deceased, then we go lost note and bond. Mhm.
One last question.
Last question.
This is from Irma.
Irma, is the cash purchase considered a bona fide transaction? Yes, it is. Absolutely. If I'm paying cash, you better believe I want it insured. I want to make sure. I mean, you know, even more so, you know, you want to make sure, especially on a cash transaction, you know, usually those are fast. Okay, so you, again, you want to make sure, just like I gave that example in the beginning of that vacant lot in LA, and that person wasn't the real seller and ripped off, you know, that buyer. You definitely want to make sure that you have title, insurance, and escrow. And I know, again, it's just a minimal fee, but do you see where that person, I talked to the agent, and that person had to hire, that person was out all that money, had to hire an attorney, and so you're trying to save a few dollars, and then look what happened. You know what I'm saying? And so I'd rather just have everything clear. Besides, what people don't know is, again, liens against your name or against the seller's name. How well do you know those sellers? How do you know that they don't have IRS liens or franchise tax board liens or judgments? How do you know? You want to buy their property. Do you want to inherit? Do you want to inherit their lien? It's going to go with the property, even though they come off title. So you really have to, to me, it's worth it. It's peace of mind, and it's safety, and we're your attorneys and your insurance into the next bona fide transaction.
Is there an exception that you can pay off the lien after the close cycle?
Oh, you can pay off. I mean,
No, so we can close it.
can you pay? Oh,
Get the proceeds of the money. What if the person don't have it? Unless they sell the house.
well, we have, okay, so the question is a good question. Thank you. Can we pay some of those liens off after the close of escrow?
Or hold funds?
Or hold on. So, I'll tell you. I like it. I'm gonna, you guys are all kind of, you guys are so good. I'm proud of you guys. Good group. Good question. Yes and no. No, in the sense, we're supposed to deliver clear title, okay? I mean, so think about it. Something could go wrong. What if that person does not pay, okay? So that's where the danger, and now we have a new buyer, and poor thing, it's not their fault, and now there's still a judgment that was supposed to be paid off for $5,000, and it's still on there, which in a lot of cases would make their first deed of trust secondary. You see what I'm saying? Because they can foreclose the first or that judgment. So here's the thing. Title companies will make exceptions. And what we do, depending on the situation, we will hold and close. And we will hold a lot of money more. Like say it's a judgment for $5,000 that we're waiting for that demand. We're waiting for that payoff. And we know we're going to get it now. It's
Yeah,
just a matter of time, but their loan commitment is going to expire and we need to close because they're going to move to Florida, something like that.
Yeah, the
As
hold
long
up.
as we have enough information, there was good communication and we know what's coming in, like it's $5,000, the title company may say we're going to hold 20,000 just in case, because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of times where it says it's only 5,000 and then you'll be surprised. We finally get those demands and it's like a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy what we see. It's crazy what we experience. So we're not trying to make your life miserable. We're just trying to do our job and deliver clear title and make everybody happy. Again, we don't get paid until the transaction closes. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to make a quick comment. I've been dealing with a friend of mine that has an IRS lien, and he's paying, they're charging him interest. Every
Of
year.
course.
Oh, yeah.
He tried to pay it off 5 years ago. And well, hey, your balance is gonna be way higher than $10,000.
Exactly. Yeah, no. So did that answer your question? I mean, there are exceptions that title companies will do. We will hold it up. Do we like to do that? Not so much because we don't want to be a bank. Like we don't want to start holding everybody's money and then everybody starts hating us because what was supposed to come in, the demand never comes in, or then the attorney changes their mind. No, you should see and hear the stuff that we come across on a daily basis. So we will do it to accommodate it as long as we have enough information.
It's like this one that you did. This person owes more than 500,000 on the lien.
Yep. It's got to be paid off. If they,
They're not gonna be able to pay it unless they sell this house.
exactly.
But then the house is not be able to sell because the title will not clear.
Well,
Exactly.
you gotta keep in mind that there's some individuals that have 20 different homes, businesses and all that. This is gonna be attached to all the homes. So if they resolve it with one home, it resolves it with their whole portfolio and stuff. So
I had.
you don't know the whole situation.
Transaction, the sales transaction, it was a nice home, I want to say. What's up with there, Brentwood, not Brentwood,
Palisades?
Redbird.
Bradford.
I had a transaction. Oh my God, the feds came in and seized the property, talk about, see, that's it, I mean, had an open order, we were in the middle of a transaction. And they came in and seized everything, like, that's it, that everything came to a screeching halt. So it happens where sometimes like, hey, we can't do anything like that, I mean, literally, we couldn't do anything until all that was resolved. You know, and then, the government took over, the feds took over. Yes,
Okay, so, this is a basic question, but in the past, we were, told that as soon as you get a listing, you get a property profile. But is that now off the window because you guys want us to order a prelim?
You
Yes,
should.
yes, you can order a prelim and you can even run the SI, especially if it's a common name. And it's so helpful because we feel bad. I know it doesn't happen with any of you. And I know Alba, this doesn't have to Alba, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. There, you know, sometimes when we get the SI, the day before when the escrow company is setting up the recording. And that's not the escrow's fault. Sometimes they don't get the SI. That's when they get the SI and they're submitting it to us the night before we're setting up for recording. So we're doing the date down, we're running the SI, and then we find these liens. And then we look like the bad guy, you know. Now, whereas when you have the listing, we could have started working on all these liens and judgments and all that, had them all resolved. And now we have to pull the recording or stop the recording. And now we have to start working on all this.
You guys should make it a common practice just to get the SI, the prelim, the NHD, get all that stuff when you're listing it, get it out of the way, and then you can foresee any potential problems and address it to the seller and resolve it in ample time instead of them looking incompetent and like, well, why didn't you take care of this before and stuff? So, and all it is just a phone call or email. There's no charge
No cancellation.
unless
no charge.
the transaction closes.
Yeah.
So all it is, maybe 5 minutes to get your NHD, your SI, and now basically just sending it to the, and I think it's auto-fillable now too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you can email it to your client, have them fill it out, email it back to you, and then send it to escrow. Escrow will run their SI and tell you if there's any potential problems. And then you can have the prelim. Now, if you don't understand the prelim, like you're not as fluent, you know, the class didn't help you that much, or it did, but you know, you still need more practice. Call Yolanda and she'll tell you, okay, no, you're good, prelim's clear, or you have a couple issues, here are your issues you need to discuss with your seller. Get them out of the way because they're going to come up. If you're trying to hide it because you just want to get the listing, it does you no good because you still have to resolve it. So you might as well get it out in the open. Yeah.
And you know, I will, when you open up the order with me, I always, when it's ready, I review it. So I like to give a second laugh and then I email it. And then I always give you like a little brief summary, like, oh, property looks good, prelim looks good. You know, taxes are open, maybe one deed of trust or no deeds of trust. You know, this, that, there's a couple of easements and stuff. So I always try to look to see if there's any red flags and all that. And I'll try to get to you and leave you a message and all that. So that way you hear that like, oh, I thought there was one other deed of trust. And then you can contact me and say, hey, Yoli, I think they had a second or something like that. One other thing, go ahead.
Do you provide the SI?
Yes, we have SI and or.
It'll be in your prelim. When you get your prelim, it'll have the SI. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording and end the session. You guys feel free to stay here and we'll continue to answer more questions. I just want to, because it's already about half hour over, but one thing I do want to do is Alba, can you come up?
Let's come here, Alba.
So these ladies do this to educate you, to help you, to encourage you, to give you more motivation and give you all the tools to get your business. So in turn, if you do have some transactions, you know, return the favor and give them the business because they do this for in generosity to help you guys. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. One other thing going back to ordering the prelim. Usually the